Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back for another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. Today we are stepping into Ask a Medium Anything. This is part 7 in our Ask a Medium Anything series in the last 2.5 years or so of this podcast. And in this episode, we are going to get very real and very practical about how mediumship actually works from the inside out. If you've ever wondered, what does mediumship really feel like? Does a medium see, hear, feel, or just know information? What actually happens during a mediumship reading, step by step? And how is mediumship different from intuition, from psychic perception, or simply being sensitive to energy? Those are the kind of questions we are starting with, but we are going even further. We're also going to talk about your loved ones in spirit and what they actually know and experience in relation to your life right now. Do they recognize when you're intentionally trying to connect with them? Do they know when you're thinking of them or talking to them quietly in your own heart or mind? Can they support or influence your healing even when you're not consciously reaching out to them? Do they have awareness of what you're going through emotionally, physically, and in your relationships? And can someone that you barely knew or maybe never even met in this lifetime still communicate through a medium with clarity and love for you? I'm going to really try to get to everything today. These are some of your most requested questions, but also some of the most searched for questions and most quietly wondered about questions people have about mediumship and the spirit world. And my intention today is to answer them in a grounded, honest, and clear way, grounded in my own lived experience as a working medium without any mysticism for the sake of mysticism, even though it's a mystical experience. So we'll talk about that too. And without sugarcoating any of the nuances. And remember, I don't have all the answers to all the things. I'm always learning and growing as well. And if you don't hear your question in this episode, remember, this is the 7th in a series. So there's a chance that we already answered it. I do try to make these Ask a Medium Anything episodes different from each other. So this first question I want to get into is, what does mediumship feel like? Is it mental, emotional, visual, more of a sensory experience? People frequently ask this, and I know so many of you are curious. As part of this little bundle of questions, I felt like these other 2 questions were quite similar. What happens during a mediumship session, step by step? And is mediumship different from spiritual intuition, psychic healing, psychic reading, or just feeling energy? So I feel like these 3 initial questions go together. So I'm going to work them together, and there's overlap in the answers is really part of why. So what does mediumship feel like? Well, first I want to acknowledge that while there are some aspects of mediumship that it's my understanding that all the mediums I've talked to experience quite similarly, we all also are unique individuals, and all of your loved ones on the other side are unique individuals. So while I can give you some answer to this, please know that there's nuance with each medium, with each communication. And I, of course, can only speak for myself. So if you experience something differently, if you are a medium or in your mediumship or development, please know I'm not trying to challenge you in your own experience. I'm just sharing from my experience of over the years of doing this work and really learning and developing in this work, because even though it's a quote unquote natural gift, to really understand how to use it, how to give clear details that make sense to my recipients, takes some work to learn how to receive this information, how to perceive the information, and how to share it, how to know what we're understanding or receiving. So to answer these questions, I'm going to start by telling you what I experience and how it works for me as a medium. But as part of that, I'm also going to tell you the step-by-step of how a session actually works. So when someone is scheduling a session, typically they schedule through my website, and I don't know any additional information about them. Sometimes people will even use like an alias or their middle name if they're feeling extra concerned about being researched or skeptical. I think you guys know this probably, and I feel like I can probably speak for all legitimate mediums when I say we don't have time to research, nor for me anyway, I wouldn't want to. I don't like to know any extra information, in fact, because this mystical experience of mediumship requires me as the medium to be in that creative, spiritual right side of my brain and processing. And I don't want my logical human mind to be activated, or at least as little as possible, because the truth is we can never fully turn off our busy human mind. It always wants to fill in information and help, but part of the development of the gift of mediumship is learning how to hold your busy conscious mind at bay so that we're receiving information from the spirit world and trying as little as possible to not be coloring the information with our own thoughts, right? So for me, knowing additional information from my recipient beforehand makes it harder to quiet my mind, because then I'm in my head like, oh, did I know this? Did they tell me this? Did they mention this already? So for me, I prefer to know as little as possible. So that is part of the setup of how someone comes into a mediumship session. People find me all kinds of ways. And then once someone is in my office or on my Zoom screen for a reading, I have a little bit of like a speech, quote unquote, that I give them. Basically, I just explain the difference between psychic work and mediumship, what might happen during their session. I let them know, really, for responses, all I really need from them is just to say yes, no, or I don't know, as they understand the details that I'm saying to them. I tell people it's okay to say no to me. I can sometimes misunderstand things, and I know how to work with that. And I also let them know that it's the spirit world who decides who is going to communicate in what order. A lot of the session is up to the spirit world, to be quite honest with you. We'll talk about that more as we go, but they have to choose to blend and communicate with me just as much as I have to choose to make myself available to them. So it's a two-way soul to soul communication. So after I give my little setup speech about what to expect for my sitter, I then move my awareness to the spirit world and start to I'm pausing here because depending on if it's a psychic reading or a mediumistic reading, we're talking about mediumship here, but either type of session is a soul to soul communication, meaning it is my soul blending with the soul of the client in front of me or blending with the soul of the spirit person. It's part of the training to be able to distinguish which, but as I start to move my awareness, I am either drawn more towards the energy of my client's soul or to a soul on the other side. And then as I move my awareness to blend with the spirit world, I generally will become aware of one or even sometimes more than one individual. And as I continue to move my awareness, the energy of my soul to the spirit world, one or more individuals will choose to blend their energy with mine. Now, the way I understand it in the math of it all is essentially, and again, 10 years from now, I might explain this totally differently if I have a different understanding, but this is my understanding now. I am essentially quickening or moving the vibrational frequency of my soul to an energy that they can match and then blend their energy with. They, because they're non-physical, right? They're not in this dense, tangible physical body. They are slowing or lowering the vibration so that we can meet in the middle, right? And in this middle place is where they're blending with the energy of my soul. Now, one of the jobs of a medium is to be able to hold our energy at that frequency for the duration of the session. What do I mean? When we're not able to hold our energy at that frequency, kind of like if you were working out and you were going to lift a heavy weight and hold it above your head for 45 minutes. It's sort of similar to that, just in the mechanics of needing to be able to hold our awareness in that space for that amount of time for the session. If we're not able to hold our awareness there, several things can happen. Our mind can come in and create information. We can kind of feel like we're just snatching bits of information from the spirit world and not really fully experiencing and understanding the soul that's communicating or the situation that's happening. So ideally, I am intending to be able to hold my vibrational awareness at the level needed for the soul to soul communication with the soul and the spirit world. And again, they have a choice to communicate or not communicate. The communication itself is based on the need of the soul in the spirit world or the need of the soul in my office, my clients. However, what we want and what we need is not often not always, sometimes, not always the same thing. We might really want to know specific details, but it really is up to your loved one on the other side to share specific details with me based on what they need to communicate and what they know you need to hear. What we need and what we want is not always the same. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. So then once I blend my awareness, my soul with the soul on the other side, essentially I start gently, softly becoming aware of information. Now that can happen in different ways and different proportions depending on the communicator. Some communicators, some loved ones on the other side, when I blend with their soul, some of the communication is lots of mental pictures for me, meaning they are touching into the experiences of my life, whether I remember these experiences or not, to show me pictures of particular experiences or memories that they're trying to share. And as part of this, there's emotion coming into my awareness as well. So as part of blending with the energy of my soul, they're also blending with my emotions and touching into emotions and experiences that I've had to try to get my understanding as close to the story or memory that they're trying to share as possible. That can come in mental visual experiences like quick mental pictures. That can come in, I mean, there's always emotions happening. That can come in the subtlety of the emotions only with no mental pictures. Some of them I can actually hear. It's not exactly in my own voice, but it's not in a stranger's voice. In my mind, I can sort of hear bits of information, or sometimes I'll have a song, the memory of a song drop in. And as I give it to my client, it happens to be a very significant song in their relationship or to their person. Some of it comes just in the knowing. I don't always know why I know something, but I find myself feeling and sensing and saying, and then it's correct. And I didn't necessarily get a mental picture or a thought word. I just kind of know. So these are the clairs, and we talked about them in the last Ask a Medium episode, I believe. So if you want to deep dive into the clairs, look for that episode. I won't go into them again today, but it's essentially through these subtle senses that the loved one is touching into my experience to get me to understand their experience. And then it's really through the training and development and continual development and relationship that I'm building with the spirit world that I do my best to understand specifically what they're wanting to convey. Because shout out to Andy Bing, who is one of my main mentors in my mediumship. The way he explains it, he gives an amazing example. I'm sure there's others, but his is the one that's coming to my mind right now. So credit where credit's due. The way he explains it is if you see a mental picture of like a pint of beer on a bar, it's only through the emotional experience as the medium that you understand, does this spirit person work at this bar? Is it their anniversary celebration? Do they hang out in this one bar stool at this specific bar all the time, a pub, right? Or are they an alcoholic? Is there a challenge with this glass of beer on the bar? So, and many more emotional options. So it's only through the emotional experience that the medium knows, oh, this is a poignant memory, or this is a happy memory, or this is a joking memory, right? So all of those things are happening at once. And it is also part of the training. For example, I could be working with someone's dad in the spirit world and giving specific details. We call it evidence in the work, but it's actually just details that are true about the person, their personality, their memories, their character, their life, things like that. And then sometimes I might become aware in my awareness, I don't know a different way to say it, of another person joining the conversation. And maybe this person, I can sense and know that they had a female life in this lifetime. And as I blend more with the next soul, I realize, oh, this is mom. Do you also have mom in the spirit world? I know that her personality is XYZ, depending on the individual. And that's part of what makes mediumship such a profound experience, because we are all unique. Of course, certain humans might have similarities in their personality and their life experience, but the unique collection of details that goes to your spirit person is totally specific to them. There are no two people that are exactly the same. There are no two life stories that are exactly the same, no two relationships that are exactly the same. It's why, for example, if I read for several members of a family separately, let's just say, and again, I typically don't know that they're related, and I become aware of that same dad in the spirit world for, let's just say, the initial client is the sister, the next client's the brother, the next client's the granddaughter, let's just say. Well, that man, that gentleman, and that female, that woman, the dad and mom of the original client, they're going to communicate different details, different memories, different aspects of their personality to each different member of their family, because we're different in the different relationships of our lives. I'm sure that you are not exactly the same version of yourself with a parent as you are with, if you have a child, or with a friend. I'm sure that you're not exactly the same at work as you are, when you were in high school, let's just say. So part of the intelligence and the miracle of the spirit world is that they have all of their memories. They know who you are. They know the memories they shared with you. They know what you know about them and what you don't know about them. So sometimes the most important and validating details that the loved one is still there and still continues on are the very intimate, subtle details that you could never find publicly. It's in the way that they always brushed your hair and rubbed your back when you were upset. It's the way that they made corny jokes about, I'm thinking of one person in particular that in the reading, it came to my awareness that where they lived, it was like lots of cornfields and things. And the dad always made like the same corny jokes driving through the main drag in town through the fields, and through, like, he made the same jokes every time. These things are all so unique. They might not seem like the most significant things about us. Like when we meet someone in the world and we say, oh, what's your job? Where do you live? What's your hobby? But they're the most significant details to my recipient. And it lets my recipient know that it truly is their person. And often the details and the collection of details that they're giving goes to either the story they're wanting to tell or something they're wanting to address in the life of my client, right? Because we have hard things in our lives. And sometimes our loved ones on the other side through a session will make commentary or share. I'm thinking about something recently that happened where after the person's passing, there was kind of like a division in the family that happened, and it was over a disagreement that had been put to the side when this incredible woman was ill in the last part of her life. And then after her passing, this disagreement erupted and had divided the whole family. And so that's what she wanted to communicate about during her session. Besides the tender memories that she had with my client, she wanted to say, hey, I know that my kids who are still in this world are behaving like XYZ. And I know there's a disagreement about the house that I lived in. And I know who this person is, and I know who this person is, and I know the personalities of these people, and I'm putting my love with you. So it's really up to them what they want to communicate. But essentially during that part of the reading, I'm receiving, perceiving information, and I'm saying it to my client. My client is saying yes or no. They understand or they don't understand. It makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And again, every session is different. Sometimes if I see a client a second time, it's the same communicator from the other side, but sometimes different people will take the opportunity to also say hello. So the spirit world is in charge of all of that. What else do I want to tell you? At the end of the session, I typically, not always, but I often will ask my client if they had any questions or anything that they were hoping that would be addressed that wasn't addressed. When it comes to questions with the spirit world, I sometimes know the answer and I sometimes don't. So I try to be really transparent and honest. But if I'm going to understand the answer, typically as my client's telling me the question, I'm still blended with the soul on the other side. And sometimes I just will receive information as my client's telling me their question or whatever. And I probably will receive extra details to validate that I'm understanding the answer correctly. Meaning, let's just say their question is, I really want to visit my mom's hometown in Italy. I'm thinking of going to my grandma's hometown in Italy. And I just was wondering if she knows about that. And as my client's telling me this question and I'm blended with their mom, with her soul, I probably will also understand bits of information about either that hometown or her journey or things that are true that my client can say, yes, that's true, that's true, that's true. And therefore, the guidance or the opinion can also be taken because the facts, the details are also true. So I hope that makes sense. And then I wrap up the session. For me, what is happening is I'm just continuing to trust and blend deeper and deeper with the spirit world. It is different for me every time. There's no, in the beginning of my development, I was taught a little bit of a different way where there's more of like a quote unquote, we call it a checklist approach, where it's like, almost like an interview style, like what is your job, what is your hobby, what is your name, what is your, and demanding information of the spirit world, it just doesn't work as well as just being open and trying my best to receive information. I can be curious and open-minded about what I'm receiving, but I don't typically ask those type of firm questions because then my mind is wanting to come in and help with the information, right? So we're more at our thinking, processing mind than in that blending, creative mind. A couple extra details that might just be fun for you to know for those of you that have a little more experience with mediumship or have had sessions yourself. For me, I typically, not always, but often will start to perceive the spirit person on my right side. I tend to move my awareness to this space. Lots of mediums will say it's the right and slightly behind. Mine's the right and slightly in front. I'm always a little weird. If you don't know me, now you know. And then, for example, if there are two communicators, I often will just kind of orient them in my awareness where I might have the dad on my right. And then when the mom comes in, I might have her also on the right next to him, but I might orient her differently to where I can feel the mom from my left and I can feel the dad from my right. That's more getting into the weeds of the mechanics of mediumship. That's something that came over time for me. It's not something that I did right away necessarily. It's something I learned over practice and over development and over time. It doesn't always work that way. There's really very few always in mediumship. But for me right now in my work and for the last several years in my work, that really is how it's worked, where I can kind of orient the different souls kind of differently in my awareness so that especially if there's like, I recently had a group of like really strong females from the other side, and it was like the matriarch and then a couple of her sisters and a couple of other females. And so if I, in my awareness, it's sometimes if I don't know them and they're quite similar, could feel a little harder to distinguish them. Whereas if I orient them differently in my awareness, then I'll know, okay, that's from grandma, that's from auntie. I hope this is making sense the way I'm explaining it, because the truth is this is a mystical experience. It's not something that can be replicated in exactly the same way, exactly every time. It's more of an art than a science. The medium is essentially like an artist painting a verbal picture with your loved one, with their soul in the spirit world. And we are co-creating the details in the session, meaning I'm in charge of trying my best to receive and making sure I'm correctly stating the information for them, making sure if I'm not correctly stating it, that I'm, we call it crying out, that my soul's open to receive another experience from them to help me better understand the experience that I just misunderstood. Because each wave of information that I'm perceiving and receiving is them communicating, and each wave is its own mystical experience. So it's not like if they give me, let's just say, recently I had someone let me know that there are people still in the world that wear a jersey number of theirs for sports teams. They wear like their jersey number now when they're playing the sport. And that experience of me understanding, oh, people are still playing sports in their honor. This person played sports. They have a significant jersey number. Their loved ones are now wearing the specific jersey number, and also, bracelets, and also XYZ. And I give the details one at a time and ask if they would understand it. They did. But that little experience, right, of me understanding that part of their story, that's a fleeting experience. That's real-time soul energy blend. It's not something, if I misunderstand something, I can then go back to and say, all right, let me recount my experience, because then I'm recounting. And then that's my human logical mind again. What I need to do is go back to their soul, blend deeper, and receive another experience, another mystical, fleeting experience that helps understand, explain, deepen what I can say about the previous experience. I hope that makes sense. These are layers of mediumship that as I got more into my work, I continue even to understand deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm always working on all of this. So hopefully that helps you understand specifically step by step what happens in a session. What does mediumship feel like for me as the medium? And the difference between mediumship is when you're blending with a soul that's not inside a body, a spirit person. And psychic is when I'm blending with a soul of a person that is in a body. So my client, that's part of what I tell them in that little speech at the beginning of their session that I mentioned. But really the difference is you're actually blending with the soul of the person on the other side and perceiving and receiving information from their soul, not from their loved one who's in my office, not from my imagination, but they are active in the communication and sharing and communicating details with me that I'm receiving and then sharing. So I hope that makes sense. Let me see. I think that's all I wanted to say about those questions. Okay, the next little group of questions is, do loved ones recognize quote unquote sessions, or do they only show up when there's an intention? I'm going to open that question a little more because I think I know what it's trying to ask. And how does one prepare energetically or mentally for a reading? Both the sitter and the medium is what this person wants to know. Okay, these are great questions. You guys are doing such an amazing job at submitting like really deep, profound questions. So does a loved one recognize the session? Usually I believe they're the one that got you to the session, because I cannot tell you how many stories I have heard from people saying, I'm not quite sure how I found you. Your website just kept popping up on my phone and I didn't search you. Or I heard a podcast and I don't know how I heard it. Or I felt connected to you. I had someone tell me they felt connected to me because one of the photos of me on my website, the background of the photo, they recognize the area and used to live like in a building that's just out of frame. So they felt connected to me by that. So I have others that there are just connections that they never could have known about very similar stories with our loved ones or similar names. Or so I believe it's the spirit world that is orchestrating the session. It's not the medium and it's not the person here. Yes, you have to use your free will to agree to sign up for the session or come in for the session or whatever it might be. And I have to use my free will to become aware and work with the spirit world. But I really feel like they know, like, let's just say there's a big group reading and they can get a hello or, hey, I'm safe, I love you, I'm at peace to their loved one. And maybe their loved one would never go for a private session. They definitely know that their loved one's at that event and they may or may not take the opportunity to try to communicate with them. I also believe that our loved ones in the spirit world, I know for sure, witness other people's sessions. So while I'm blending with the soul of the loved ones and the ones that I'm becoming aware of, what I'm also aware of is this, I want to call it like an outer layer. The way I probably best imagine it or see it in my mind's eye is like if you were in a stadium, right? And you're on the field or in the arena and all the bleachers, all the seats around, I think those are guides, those are supporters, those are other ancestors that aren't going to communicate, but that are lending energy to build the communication and help us hold our energy connected at the right place. I believe that spirit people sit in those bleachers, those proverbial bleachers in this metaphor, to learn how to communicate in a session, to see what happens in a session. So I believe that they're learning and preparing for the session more than we are. And I also, as part of my development and continual building of my relationship with the spirit world, I do a version of meditation. We call it sitting in the power or sitting in the presence, where several days of the week I spend time just sitting with the energy of the spirit world when I'm not working, when I'm not trying to become aware of an individual person, just with the spirit world as a world is the way Andy says it. Hey, Andy Bing. So really, I'm continuously building my relationship with them and carving out time. And what I know is during those meditations where I'm sitting with just the spirit world as a world, my guide is working with the spirit people to show them, okay, here's how you communicate with my medium. Here's how you get her to talk about the beach. Here's how you can get her to talk about I don't know, whatever it is that they're needing to talk about, I believe they're working on it ahead of time and learning how to communicate through a medium. I also kind of imagine that mediums, amazing mediums who are on the other side, are like running some kind of class over there to teach the spirit people how to communicate from that side mediumistically, because it's different, right? Obviously, it's different communicating out of a body than in a body. So I believe they do know when it's a session, and I believe that they do know when we're intending to connect with them. I believe that they do know our hearts and how we feel, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later as well. But how do we prepare energetically for the reading? Well, let me talk about myself first. So me, I am doing my preparation all the time, meaning like that meditation that I was just talking about, that is part of my preparation, part of my relationship building, part of my honor and privilege as a medium to sit with the spirit world and to give them access ahead of time so that the session can be the best that it could possibly be. I also send love over there quite a bit and healing energy over there quite a bit, just because it's what I'm trying to give back to them. Besides that, and besides the training and development that I do, and I work on my own mediumship in other ways that I won't totally bore you with unless you really want to know. I do a little more practical prep also. So several of you know that I have some tummy issues that I work with in this life. My body's quite sensitive, actually. So things like, I'm very careful about what I eat before a session. I try to eat really light when I'm working, as light as possible, because I don't want my tummy to be upset and distracting me. I don't want my body to be loud with human functions and moving my awareness or draining my awareness from the full capacity I could have for the spirit world, for example. Now, those are not true for everybody. This is true for me because this is how my body works. Maybe some people need to eat a different way for fuel for their body, but I try to give spaciousness. I eat like a little bird throughout my mediumship days. And I don't do mediumship every day. I carve out 3 to 4 days a week for mediumship. As part of what I'm doing to prepare, I also limit the number of sessions that I take in a day, so that I can have the same level of energy for each session. And the truth is, I've said this before, some sessions do take more out of you as a medium because of several reasons, but sometimes there are harder sessions or deeper emotions in a session. Some sessions are lighter and more playful. Sometimes, especially if it's a group or a small group, I'm also trying to hold their energy while I'm holding my energy, while I'm holding the energy of the spirit world. So it can just be a little draining for several different reasons. So I limit the number of sessions I take in the days that I do mediumship. What else do I do to prepare? I kind of do a lot. Not all mediums do this much. Not everyone needs to do this much. I tend to take it easy the day before a session. Typically, my clients start at 10 a.m. where I am, and I go into if it's in the office that day, I go in an hour before because I like to just make sure temperature's right. And it helps with my anxiety if I just could be there early, because you never know if there's going to be a detour or you can't find parking or whatever it might be. So those are some of the ways that I prepare myself. I know myself. I know I do better if I leave enough time to get there. I know I do better if this is hard, but I'm going to say this. There's certain people I won't talk to the day before my session. I've said this before, actually. I try to keep my energy as neutral and easy as possible. But the other bit is I also try to make sure that I'm building my energy. So I might listen to really upbeat music that I love. I might listen to a podcast or podcaster that I really find their voice comforting. So I'm doing things to try as much as I can. I mean, I still live a human life and life still happens, but as much as I can, I'm trying to keep myself upbeat and positive, my energy feeling good. I learned this the hard way because there have been times when I've taken a call right before a session, or even like a couple hours before a session, or had things going on in my life that made it just a little harder to focus. And truly, you can do a reading even if there's chaos going on, and even if life's crazy, and even if my emotions have things going on in them, or I'm worried about things in my personal life, I can separate and compartmentalize those. So it's not like, oh, if something happens, I can't do readings that day. But I do try to set myself up as best as I can. Just like when I was traveling for work, I would try to make sure I was getting enough sleep and make sure I was taking my vitamins, and you just do the practical things that work for you. And I'm always checking in on those because those can change for me. I'm almost like embarrassed to admit this. I'm also someone that does really much better with a little bit of caffeine. So I also try to make sure I'm all the way awake and I have enough caffeine and I've been awake for a few hours. And so I'm really trying to just manage my energy the best that I can. It's not always possible, of course, but you do your best. And I try not to get sick if I can help it. I don't, obviously for safety reasons, I wouldn't want to get someone else sick. So if I am sick, I either cancel my sessions, reschedule them, or work online. But I've talked about this before too. I have had situations, particularly I'm thinking of one when I was a student where there was a big event that was organized for us as students to practice getting up in front of a large group. A couple of us were very, very sick with felt like a flu. But the people were there and we had already committed to this. And we did go ahead and do our demonstration, which means do mediumship in front of people and give communication to the members of the audience that were there. And the power of our soul takes over and will make it possible to work even when we were really sick, even when we're really sick or even when something's going on. But I try to make the conditions as ideal as I can, even down to I try to wear short sleeves with a sweater because sometimes I get really hot when I'm reading the way my energy moves, and it's more comfortable for me to be able to take off a layer. So the practical stuff is how I prepare, besides the meditation that I do and the relationship that I'm always building with the spirit world. What do my clients need to do to prepare? Very little, to be honest. If in a perfect world, you would have the day off of your session and you would be able to have an easy morning and you would be able to have spaciousness after the session so you can process everything that happens, because people always report to me it's a lot to process. It's a lot of information. It's a lot to think about. So in a perfect world, you might have time after your session to just take a nice walk or take it easy or have just some relaxation. That's not how everyone's life works. So it's not necessary. It's not required. It's just ideal. But it's better if you can have a little bit of spaciousness around getting to your appointment, whether it's virtual or in person. So you're not freaking out or running late or trying to dash in at the last minute. You don't need to beg your loved ones in the spirit world to show up. They're already with you. You bring them with you to the session. I'm not communicating with them ahead of time. I'm not trying to blend with them or tune in for them ahead. The energy changes once my client's in the room or on the screen. The energy shifts. So it's just not helpful to do that ahead. There's nothing really you need to do to prepare except just try to be open. Yeah, that's really all there is. I've done deeper talks about this, but there's not much you need to do to prepare. Try to give yourself some spaciousness to get where you need to go, just because life happens. Okay, this next little group of questions. Do loved ones know what we experience physically, like pain or major life changes? And do spirit people notice how others react to us, like our partners or our children, and bring messages targeted to those dynamics? These are great questions. So, do loved ones know what we experience physically, pain, surgery, if we bump our head? They absolutely know. They're not in a faraway place. We're often culturally, I know I was when I was young, taught to think of heaven up in the clouds, far away in the sky, and removed from us. It's, in my understanding, it's not like that. It's just an unseen world within our world. So they have access. We just don't see them, but we experience them in a different way. So they do still spend time with you. They know if you're going through something medical. They know if you're going through something physical. I've even had a spirit person communicate basically hey, let my wife know that she needs to adjust that cabinet because she bumps her head on it every time when she opens that cabinet and leaves it open. She bumps her head. Can you tell her to adjust the thing? So they do know and they do see. They know about major life changes. They will often make commentary on, for example, a graduation, a wedding, a baby coming into the family. I often have parents or grandparents on the other side talk about their grandkids or babies coming in from the other side. So they really do know about our moves, our milestones. It's an emotional state that they are in, that they can feel and sense and know our emotions. They know our ups and downs. They know our life changes in real time. They know if you're having a bad day. they can feel and sense our emotions in a different way. When we're in physical form together, like if you and I were in the same room, you might be able to hide your emotions from me to a degree. So it's why we can say everything's fine when it's not. It's why we can put on a brave face when our heart is breaking. From the spirit side, we can't hide our emotions in the same way from them because they see the truth of our soul. They see the vibrational frequency and resonance of our soul. They feel and sense and know when we are emitting happy, joyous, elated emotions versus when we are emitting sad, concerned, grieving emotions. So they do know, and they know the nuance of the emotion. They know our thoughts, our struggles, and our triumphs. They do know in real time. So I hope that makes sense. And do they notice how others react to us? Yes. Like I was talking about with that story of the family who, after the matriarch passed, once again was in breakdown and divided. They know what's going on with the other people that they care about too, and the other people in their lives. So they'll often make commentary about children or partners or people who are still here. Often, for example, like if one partner is on the other side and one's still here, they'll make commentary about that. I'm thinking about a session that I had where the dad was on the other side and the mom was still here. She was a bit older. She was having some changes in her health since dad had crossed over, and he was wanting to communicate that he knew what was going on in her health, that he knew the care that the family was providing. He knew which family member they moved her in with. And all through it, he was expressing so much gratitude for the way that they were taking care of the love of his life, and how she was so important in the family. So, and there's much more details that came than that, but I'll just give you that. So they really do prove to me over and over and over that they know how our relationships are going. They know the dynamics happening. They know the milestones happening. They know our day-to-day emotions. And it's why I love when they bring like day-to-day, seemingly mundane details about us, because that's where we live, is in the day-to-day life. And for me, certainly, I kind of learned this when I was a kid. I've always, I guess, been mediumistic and not really realized it, but certainly they know the day-to-day happenings of our life because they care still. We're still connected by the love that we share. So I hope that answers that little group of questions. The next little group of questions, and the final little group of questions, is, do spirit people know when we're trying to reach them, like intentionally versus randomly thinking of them? Oh, this is a good question. Do they know when I'm thinking of them or when I'm talking to them? Can spirit people influence or support healing even when we're not consciously trying to contact them or connect with them? And can someone in the spirit world be reached even if I didn't know them well or at all? Okay. What about ancestors I've never met, biological parents I didn't know, people who I only knew briefly? Okay, so that's this little group of questions. So I love when you guys send questions because there are common themes and commonalities, and then I can blend the questions together, try to give you guys as much information as I can in these Ask a Medium sessions. So do spirit people know when we're trying to reach them intentionally versus random thoughts? Okay, this might blow your mind. So I don't necessarily think the random thoughts are random. I think that is when your loved one is, I mean, they're always present with us, but that's when they're present with you and communicating with you and saying hello to you. It might feel like they're randomly popping into your mind, or you're driving down the road and randomly remembering the time we had ice cream over there at that new shop. That's them reminiscing with you. That's them letting you know they're here. I don't believe it's random. And it can also be your soul becoming aware of their presence, right? You might not physically see them, but your soul is aware that they're present. Just like when I move my awareness to blend with them, your soul knows that they're there, even if you don't practice mediumship. So they do know when we're intentionally thinking of them, and they do say hello to us even when we're not intentionally thinking of them. They know often the memories we do think about. They know, I've often had them communicate when we put up a new photo of them, or when I just had one recently and they were communicating, oh, this person was visiting the family back home and they took a picture of a picture that was on the wall and it's in their phone. So yes, they do know. They know when we're thinking of them. This next part is, do they know when I'm thinking of them or talking to them? They do. And they also know, so because they don't have human ears anymore and human voice box, right? They know not just when we're thinking of them, but they can feel the emotions we have about them. We don't have to talk out loud to them because they're not hearing us and experiencing us through physical ears. It's through the emotion, it's through the energy, it's through the love. So even if you're sending thoughts and prayers to them from your mind, even if you're not verbalizing it in your mind into mental words at all, and you're just emitting love towards them from your heart, they feel and receive all of that. In the last couple of years, they've been showing me that when people are sending prayers, healing, loving thoughts as particularly like in the last phase of their life, that when they cross over, they receive all of that as waves of love and compassion and connection from those that love them in the world. So they are even much more aware of emotions and thoughts and feelings, even than we are here on the physical side. Can our loved ones visit multiple people at once? This is a great question. So, kind of like I was saying, they're always with us, but sometimes we sense them more. Once the energy of our soul, the vibrational resonance of our soul, is not contained in a physical body, we can be many places at once. There are lots of near-death experiences that explain this in a really beautiful way, how they could be witnessing one thing happening one place and another thing happening another place, and also their souls on the other side having whatever experience they're having. Yeah, they can, and they convey it pretty frequently, that they're with this person over here and they know what's happening with this person over here and they know what's happening in this part of the life over here. So yes, they can be with many people at one time and you're not bothering them. We did go into this in a different episode really deeply. So if you want more around that, check out the other Ask a Medium episodes, because we did go really deeply into that piece of it. Can spirit people influence or support healing when we aren't consciously trying to contact them? Yes. So a couple different layers here. One, I do sometimes, again, I don't demand information of the spirit world, so I just receive whatever they need to communicate. And I have had spirit people communicate that they are part of a healing team on the other side, that I had one that was so beautiful and let me know that one of the things they do from the other side is go sing is the word that I use, but it's more of like a vibrational, energetic, loving frequency for the babies who are in the neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU. And as their loved one said, oh my gosh, this person loved babies so much. I'm not at all surprised that that's one of the things they're doing. So we don't necessarily have to request support. They love us. And so they're supporting us. Just like even if there's someone that you love who's still in the physical world and they didn't ask you for support, if you knew something was going on with them, you would still want to support them because you love them. So yes. But I will say, I don't believe that they can create miraculous healing for us. I don't feel like some people receive miraculous healing from them and some people don't. I think that they are loving and supporting and energetically giving us offerings regardless of if we ask for it or not. For me, I also believe it's based on kind of our higher self. This is tipping into me and my work as a healer and what I believe about energy healing. I do Reiki and other forms of energy healing. And when I'm offering healing as a medium, as an energy healer to someone that I don't have their express consent, right? Where let's just say, hypothetically, I have a client and they have a person they love who is in hospice or in intensive care. And they might say, can you send healing for them? So instead of sending healing to the human self, I send the healing to the higher self, to the soul self. And then the soul knows, would that person accept it? The soul can distribute it as needed, because I don't pretend to know what someone needs energetically. So that's how I do it. So the people on the other side that love you know your soul, and they know if your soul would want support, if your soul would want healing. And I don't know why any of us wouldn't want love and support. But again, sometimes love and support doesn't mean making our human problem go away. Sometimes it's just supporting us and nurturing us as we step down the journey of the road of whatever this challenge or struggle is. So yeah, they can support and influence healing. I've even sometimes had them show me, oh, this person is going to have a surgery, and I want them to know that I'll be supporting the doctors who are doing their surgery, for example. So yes. And this last little piece of it is, can someone in the spirit world be reached, is the way it's worded, if I didn't know them well or at all? And what about ancestors or biologic family that I didn't know, or people I only knew briefly? Anyone who wants to communicate from the spirit world can. So I sometimes have people pop into a session, or what I mean by that is blend with my soul briefly for only a segment of the session, and other souls will also communicate. But I sometimes have someone communicate in a session that either my sitter didn't know, they forgot they knew, the like a childhood neighborhood friend that they forgot about, for example. I have had biological parents that my sitter didn't necessarily know or have a relationship with in life communicate, and they can validate through the details that we do know or things we do know about the family. So I've had that happen. I've had people that passed away before my sitter was born, or people that they didn't see since they were a baby. And I do often get asked this, like, why would this person be saying hello in my session if I don't feel particularly connected to them? There can be lots of reasons for this. Again, we in the same episode where we talked all about your loved ones on the other side and jobs and what they're doing and how they feel, I really went into this quite a bit, but I'll give it again because it is coming up a lot again. Sometimes it's not even for you. Let's just say, hypothetically, you come in for a session and you want to hear from your grandma, who you're very close to, and a friend, right? And those people do communicate, but as part of the session, also your grandpa, who passed away before you were born, communicates. And you might think, why does he want to communicate? I didn't know him at all. And what you don't realize is that grandpa knows from the spirit world that your intention is to share the recording of the reading with the family, for example. And maybe you couldn't validate any of the evidence. Maybe you didn't know anything I was talking about this gentleman, your grandpa, because you didn't know him. But perhaps someone else that's going to be listening to the reading within the family knows the answers to that and can say, like, oh my gosh, this is true. And maybe that communication is for them and not for you, actually. We could all be messengers of the spirit world in our own way. So sometimes it can be that. Sometimes it can be to open our mind just a little bit wider. I actually find it quite validating when it's information that my sitter, my client, didn't know. I feel like, to me, because some people will say, oh, how do I know that you received that detail from my loved one and that you didn't psychically read it from my soul? Which it's very hard to qualify that, but the truth is I feel the information differently if it's from the person across from me or if it's from the spirit world. My awareness moves differently, and it feels different. So I can't prove that to you, but it is the truth. But really, they do know the true need. Sometimes it's our need, sometimes it's their need, sometimes it's someone else's need. And if we didn't even know a bit of information that was communicated and we had to go check with a different family member or look in a photo album or look at the books on our bookshelf, depending on whatever communicates as the details, isn't that, for me, even more validating? Because it's like, I didn't even know that. And I've had people learn whole chapters of their family history because a spirit person gave a couple breadcrumbs of information. And then they were like, actually, I have an aunt that's the family historian. Let me ask her. And it opens this whole beautiful line of communication between the family. So the spirit world knows what they're doing. There's an intelligence there. They know far better than I do who should communicate, what they need to communicate, how the communication needs to happen. But yeah, they can show up. They are supporting in the background, even if you never knew them. Because how I think about it too is, I have 2 kids, they're grown-ups. I'm not going to be here forever. None of us has guaranteed time here in this form, in this planet. Let's just say, hypothetically, and my kids are in their 20s. Let's just say in the next 10 years, my kids have kids, right? And those kids are growing up and I'm building a relationship with them and I know these grandkids and I love them so much. And then let's just say I'm 48 now. Let's just say my grandma lived to be 93. So let's say 93. When I'm 93, I pass away. My grandkids are grown-ups. My kids are grown-ups. And then my grandkids, after I pass away, start having more kids. Wouldn't I still care? Wouldn't I want to be a part of these babies' lives, even if I didn't get to know them, even if I only knew my kids and my grandkids? Wouldn't I still have an interest, a care? Wouldn't I still want to support those younger generations coming in? And the truth is, I believe, and the spirit world's shown me a lot of times, that when we're on the other side in spirit form and our soul form, we get to meet and get to know the souls that are coming into the family. So, for example, in this story I was just making up with my great grandkids, if I cross over and they're not here yet and their souls are still on the other side with the family, I would get to know them. I would get to experience their souls before my grandkids. And then their souls would come into the lives of my grandkids and I would still care about them. So, sometimes we can just have a very limited human perspective of the way love works. I also believe that we have the opportunity to reincarnate multiple times. I do believe in past lives. You don't have to subscribe to this belief, but if you do, let me just offer this to you. I also believe that we know many of us, maybe not all of us, but many of us know each other from other incarnations, other times we were here, other adventures we had in the spirit world, other adventures we may have had other places. So even if I didn't know you at all in this lifetime, right? And then I cross over and I realize, oh my gosh, that person that was listening to my podcast, we had other lifetimes together. I love them so much. I want to support them and see what they're up to and send my love to them from the spirit side. Doesn't that make sense? Why wouldn't we? Why would we just close the window and say, like, that's the earth world and I don't care what's going on over there? No, we are still connected by the love that we share. And I would challenge, even in a much more pure way and in a bigger way than we could possibly understand in human form. So hopefully this has answered some questions for you about mediumship, about the spirit world, about your loved ones. And the truth is, it's one of the beautiful gifts of mediumship is that I still continue to learn. The spirit world is teaching me all of the time. They're showing things to me in different ways. I am challenged in my own emotions all the time, meaning like sometimes I have a limited view or a limited belief, and I am trying to expand my understanding. I'm trying to let go of some of the constructs and patterns and programs that were taught here and open my mind. I'm always working on this as part of my human experience. And I'm sure you are too in your own way. So let me know if this resonated with you. Let me know if your mind was like piqued or intrigued, or if you got a little curious about something I was talking about. And if you have questions you'd like to submit for the Ask a Medium Anything episode, you can email them to me directly, joy@joyfulmedium.com. You can send them through admin@joyfulmedium.com. And I would love to hear those. If you want to leave a voicemail, you can give a call to the Spirit Speakeasy hotline at 305-928-LOVE. That is 305-928-5683, 305-928-LOVE. And leave me either a question for the Ask a Medium Anything episodes, or if you want to share a sign that you've received from the spirit world, I would love to hear that as well. And I could feature you at least by voice recording, or leave your name out and just read your voice recording on a future episode. So I hope that this has helped you today. If there's one thing that runs through everything we've talked about today, it's this: connection doesn't end when the physical body ceases to exist. It simply changes form. Your loved ones in spirit are not passive observers somewhere far away. They're still in a relationship with you, aware of your heart, physical and emotional, present in your life, connected through that bond of love that doesn't require words or perfect timing. Mediumship's not about magic or performance or spectacle. It's about relationship. It's about the love that we share. It's a fleeting mystical experience, and mediumship's actually an ongoing, evolving, rooted in love experience. So whether you ever sit with a medium in your life or you simply speak to your loved ones quietly from your own heart, know this: they hear you more than you think. They feel the depth and truth of your emotions. They understand you more than you could possibly realize. And they're still with you in ways that are real, meaningful, and often deeply intimate. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd be honored if you share it with someone who needs a little reminder that love never dies. Or you could also leave a quick rating or review or follow the pod wherever you are listening to this. It helps Spirit Speakeasy reach more beautiful souls like you. And I would love to connect with you. So don't be a stranger. Until next time, big hugs, lots of love. Keep that light shining straight from your heart, you beautiful soul. Bye for now. From inside Spirit Speakeasy.